Hello, my name is Jennifer and welcome to part 3 of my guide to jungle adventures. And in this part we're going to take a look at the temples, and I'm also going to go over some tips for making money with jungle adventures and just some various other things to hopefully complete this tutorial trilogy of jungle adventures. So I have sent Leon through this gate, which I showed you in the second part where to go, and they have actually returned home, and I've come back, and the two places that were locked off the path were actually open this time. So you just have to keep coming and going. But I know when I first was playing, I would always think that there were always places locked, but it's just that they move around, and if you're not familiar with the spots, then it just seems like it's the same places locked all the time because it kind of looks the same. But when you go through, you can take anyone who's with you to the temple, and on this particular trip we have left Tina's younger brother at home with her younger sister who is a teen, so she's looking after him. He had no vacation days left for school, so the two of them are going to go through to the temple, and I will see you when we get to the other side, and we will see which of the 5 configurations we get on this trip. So they are through, and the temple itself always looks the same no matter which time you go. From the outside it always looks the same. It just looks like this, but it's when you go in that it varies. And as I mentioned as we were coming through, there are 5 different configurations, and it is level 6 of the archaeology skill that you need to be able to establish an excavation site, because she just leveled up to 6, and before that she wasn't able to do that. And when you establish a site, it means you can get a lot more things out of the sites than the single one you can get otherwise. So for the 5 configurations, there is this one, which is kind of generic. There is one that has sort of a swimming pool that you have to swim through to get into the temple. There is one that is a gardening temple, one that focuses on archaeology. You'll find a skill book there, and also the archaeology bench and a whole bunch of dig sites within the temple itself. And then the last one is a party type one where there'll be a bar and a stereo, and I find they all have pools. So we are here, and now when you get in here, there are different types of traps, and this particular one you need to have handiness skills. I have gone over the skills that you need to have to be able to examine the things, but the main ones, just to recap, are archaeology, charisma, fishing, though that helps you with the gates, not so much with the temple itself. Fitness helps with both the gate and the temple. Gardening is more that it helps you with the gates. Handiness can help you with both. Logic helps with everything, including the traps. And the rocket science is with the gate. The Selvadoradian culture was with all of them, the gates, and with the there is a trap specifically for that. And unless I'm missing, I think that was kind of it. So he has maxed his handiness, so I'm going to have him go look here at this one and this particular one, and they always look the same, even though I don't. And that one's logic, and he's actually higher on logic too, if I remember correctly, because he is level 8. So I'm going to have him examine that, even though she is on the part of the jungle adventure aspiration where she needs to examine some traps, but there's nothing actually here that's really very good for her to examine. So I'm just going to establish another site in here, and I'm sure we'll find something further along inside, and if not, then well, she'll just be taking a chance, because the higher your skill is on the item, the more likely you are to be able to figure out if it works or whether or not they don't work. You get an actual thumbs up, a thumbs down, or you can get a question mark. Those are the results. But I have had it that if my Sims have maxed their skills, they still get question marks. So it's not guaranteed just because you max the relative skill for the item that you're going to get the answer. There is still an element of chance, but you're increasing the chances that you will get a solid answer, that it's a thumbs up for what option that you need to do. And if you don't know for sure and you pick the wrong option, because you can also just not examine and just activate and guess which one it is, and then if you guess wrong, then you can have bad things happen. But sometimes they're near misses, and sometimes they actually happen, and your Sims can get cursed, they can catch fire. I have seen and heard of people's Sims dying while exploring, which is why it's handy and useful to have some skills before you go into the temple and into the jungle in general, but particularly the temples. So that one said that none of them worked, so we have that. I'm not going to go through all of these. I will try and remember just to put a couple of the pictures up there and say which ones that what skills you need for each of them, because it doesn't change. This particular 3 skeletons is always handiness, and this one here is always logic. So they always look the same, and you know when you see them, once you get familiar with them, what they're for. But it doesn't matter. You don't need to know, because it will tell you before you've examined it which one it is. So here's an example of, we have 2 question marks. So we obviously don't want to do the thumbs down because that won't work, but we will. I'm just going to have him do it since he did the examining. I'm going to guess that is the arrowhead glyphs and see. Oh no, red means it's bad. So does he have a negative reaction? Well, he has a negative reaction, but is it a serious negative reaction? That's the question. So it looks like it wasn't that bad. It made him filthy. So we're going to assemble the sun glyphs, and then because he is filthy and he got a treasure going through one of the gates, so I am going to have him clean up, and then that opened up the gate. And essentially that's what you do for all of them, is that you go and I recommend you examine them, get narrowed down a little bit more, and then oh, and she's been attacked. But she should be, oh, it's bats. But so the insect repellent doesn't help with the bats. It helps with like the bees and the spiders from granite balls, the insect. But so you do need the plasma bat traits. So here we have 2 more. This one requires Selvadoradian culture. And so I'm going to have Tina do that one and quickly swap her over, just so we can see it, the Jungle Explorer aspiration. So she needs to examine some traps. So I'm going to pop that down because it doesn't really matter. So I find of the 2 aspirations that you get with Jungle Adventures, that one is actually the most lucrative, because once you complete that aspiration, I will pop it back up again, you get the reward trait Treasure Hunter, and Treasure Hunters get extra treasure. And what that means is that when you open up chests, that you get a treasure out of it. It's not just generally anything. When you actually get the trait, which I have had it with one of my sims, you get treasures. So if some of these chests in the temples have, like, they're not the rare chest, and usually you just get random things in it, and they're good things, but you'll also get a treasure with it as well as what you would normally get. So, and the same with the ones that are out in the off the path areas, you'll always be guaranteed to get some type of treasure. I have actually had it be just like an assembled relic or whatnot. And speaking of relics, that is the other thing that comes with Jungle Adventures. You can collect there are 3 different relics. There is the Balampisol and the Totakalama. The Totakalama we were able to buy when you had the ability to buy secret wares, and then the Zazatotl. And then there are, to combine with those, there are 3 bases. There is the Death base, there is the Chaos, and there is the Watcher. And the Watcher was the one you could also buy off the Secret Wares menu. So if you combine all that, there's 9 combinations you can make. And I find the Carl Sims 4 guide very, very useful if you want to see what they are and what the blessings and curses you get from activating them on either your sims or other sims. And you would insert a crystal, be it a common refined crystal, an uncommon refined crystal, or a rare refined crystal, and it strengthens the impact depending on which of those you put in it. And then once it's in there, it's gone. And from what I've heard, I've never had this happen, they can break, but I haven't had that happen yet. So she got it may be work. So this is the one that's charisma, this one right here, and her charisma is 6 and his charisma is 7. It's not a big difference, so I'm just going to have her do it because she needs to do those 3. And I'm going to see if there's another one over here, and it's charisma 2. Also, see, if you do that, you can see what it is that you need. So you don't need to know it off by heart at all. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to examine. So I'm going to have them, have her examine all of those. We're going to just try and at least get through this one temple. But I'm not going to make you watch all the examining going on because this is a tutorial and not a Let's Play. I thought I would actually briefly show you what it looks like when you actually have a definite response. And this one is definite. It has a green thumbs up, complement carvings in this case. This randomly moves around. It's never the same. So you can't just go, oh, it's the charisma. It's always complement carvings. It sometimes is insult, crumbling stone, blame for temple dangers, tell, skeleton pun. It can be any of them depending on the time that you're in there. So we'll just have her do that and we'll just quickly see this particular one open up. And there we go. We are through there. And I'll keep going. Oh, this one here is archaeology. And so there's 2 archaeologies. And we have 1 treasure chest. But this isn't the major treasure chest. This is, I've actually been to this one. I have taken, speaking of Sims, Leon came on his own a couple of times. So he's actually on the last tier of the Jungle Explorer. So he needs to open 1 more rare Omniscient treasure chest because he's been through 2 times before, but he has been through this configuration. But what he hasn't done is activated any mystical relics, so that is something he needs to do. And there is a time cooldown period in between. When you use your relic, you can only use it, and then you have to wait before you can use it again. And then the other thing is, if you say you put a curse or blessing on your own sim self, you can only do that. It like has an impact for a while before you can do it again. And the same with, I would expect, if you do it on anyone else, they become not available, is what I seem to recall happening. But you can do it on strangers and whatnot. And if you want to see that in more detail, I do go over that in my Jungle Adventures Let's Play, where I have actually activated all of the 9 variations of the relics. Some of them at varying degrees of common, uncommon, and rare crystals, depending on which ones they were. I tended to try and get rare crystals, refined crystals for the better ones, like blessings, and I tried to do the tried to stack it so that the bad ones weren't had common ones, so they weren't quite as bad. So I'm gonna have him go look over that, and I'll be back when we get into the next area. So we're now in the inner, I'm going to pause it because he's tired and he wants to go out. We're in the inner final location of this particular configuration of the temple. And we had one of these chests, you didn't have to go quite far in. So we're going to have him open that one. And then this one here is the rare one. And that one will complete the temple. You can stay as long as you want. That's one thing. You can stay as long as you want after you complete the temple, but once you leave, it resets and you can't get back in until 24 hours has passed, and then you'll go in and it should be a different configuration, but it'll be all set up again for you to go through again. You'll have to go through all the traps and all that to get through. But before you complete it, you can come and go to the temple as you wish, and so you can go back and go rest at your residence and all that fun stuff and come back and get back in freely, and it'll be unlocked. You don't have to, go through that, but you do have to trek through the jungle to get back to the temple. So that's an interesting thing that I found out by watching Vahisha Taknai, Ladyby Gaming channel, when I was watching her Jungle Adventure Let's Play, because I hadn't thought of leaving. I thought you couldn't leave until you were done. So he got some simoleons, and there we go. So there's one way you can make money just by finishing the temple completion. He happened to get 2,947 simoleons for going through it. And he got a little bit of money from the other 2, but it's much smaller. And then he got the ultimate treasure of the temple, and he should take a look around for other discoveries before leaving. And that's because once you leave, after the exploration is complete, as I mentioned, it will lock and you can't go back until it's a new configuration and you have to go through all the traps and all that stuff again. So he has got something. She's excavating up there, getting lots of things from the one site. So he actually got a golden Balampasol death relic, which is the blessings of skeletal transmogrification, if I can pronounce that. This would be a really good one to put a rare crystal in because it turns them into a skeleton, and the the better the crystal that's in it, the longer they'll stay as a skeleton. The Sims around them aren't going to be too happy about being around a skeleton, but it means that their needs stay, met for the time that they are a skeleton, as I believe we maybe saw in the last part, because I think we got a blessing just randomly from the chest that we had opened over there. So he has completed it. So that's one way. Just by going through the temple, you can get treasures, which can be worth from 8 to 10,000 simoleons. You can sell them on the table that came with Jungle Adventures. I just call it a yard sale table. If you have City Living, you also have it there. But obviously, if you have Jungle Adventures, you get it with that. I do a 300% markup. Lots of money. If it's 10,000, you get 40,000 because it's the 10,000 plus 300% again and whatnot. And you can also just, take this one's not a very good example because it's poor, but if you have high quality artifacts, they can be worth a little bit more money and you can sell them. And even with the 3, they don't have very much good stuff right now in there, but you can make some money. But where you can really make easy money with Jungle Adventures is if you get to level 9 of the Archaeology skill, you will get mailed artifacts in the mail to authenticate, and once you've authenticated them, you just quote mail them back, and you just click on it and say mail it back. It disappears, and you get anywhere from, lately I've been noticing 3,000 to 4,000 simoleons per pop, and I find that you get them. It's hard because I have a lot of households where I have more than one sim who have got to level 9 of the Archaeology skill, so I get sent for all of the sims. You can prohibit it, so you don't have to have them coming. If you don't want to make money that way, you can stop them from sending them in the mail, and you won't get them until you enable it again. But I think they send them a few times a week, so you can make a pretty good living on being an archaeologist and exploring and whatnot in this game. And I think maybe he got another frog, actually, because let me take a quick look at the household collections tab. I only had one frog, and that's showing a star, so he may have just got that one right now from this thing. But he also obviously got this golden relic, because all the little things with the stars means that it's new. So those are all things that between 3 chests that he opened that he got. So that particular frog is worth 9,079 simoleons. So if you were to sell that on the Jungle Adventures table, yard sale table, you would make a lot of money. So this is a pack that your Sims can be essentially self-employed and make a lot of money from it. And plus your Sims look so happy when they finish the temple. So as I said before, there are 5 configurations. The one that they're in right now, one that's like a party, one that is gardening, one that is like an archaeology based one, and then one that has a water maze where you start that you have to swim through to get into it at the beginning. I do find they all have some pool somewhere from what I recall. I think that's so they can swim and get their fitness up and all that fun stuff and maybe go put themselves out. But I find if your Sims catch fire, just click on them and have them extinguish self. Or there is some of the items that you buy, if you happen to have them in your inventory, they can help too. But that is sort of my brief summary of Jungle Adventures and things that you can do, and showing how the jungle works. And as I said, this particular trip, the 2 that were locked last time were unlocked, which means the 2 that were unlocked last time are going to be locked this time, because there are 4 of the areas that you can go in and explore that have a treasure chest. And so the plain area and the alternate fishing location are open on this particular trip. And if you want to see more detailed information and see all of the things in actions and see all those temples, go take a look at my Jungle Adventures Let's Play, because I go over all that stuff in a lot of detail. And if you'd like to see more tutorials, let me know down below what you'd be interested in seeing me do a tutorial of. But that is going to be it for my tutorial/guide on Jungle Adventures. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye! This has been Jennifer. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. I'd love to see them. If you liked the video, please leave a like. And if you'd like to see more videos of challenge, let's plays, tutorials, and occasional speed builds, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thanks very much.